Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing great and staying warm. Um, this week, we're talking about psychodynamic, cognitive behavioral, and humanistic perspectives. So I'm going to go through some of these. Again, similar to last week, I'm not going to read through every slide, but I will highlight some of the key points for each one, and I will post this PowerPoint online for you as well. So there's a couple different perspectives and different aspects to psychodynamic theory. The first is that metaphorical structures in the mind, um, such as the id, ego, and superego, exist. The second is how people build up these structures by going through psychological stages and how their behavior may be affected in the long term by disruptions to this development. And then the third aspect to psychodynamic is dealing with behavioral problems that come from disrupted development. So think back to your Freudian, your cognitive behavioral development, your cognitive development stages. A lot of times, psychodynamic perspective goes hand in hand with residential care. And so there's kind of three different theoretical developments that go with that. So make sure you read over some of that. So some of the debates about psychodynamic theory and maybe it's controversies with using it is that it attempts to analyze aspects of the mind in order to create a science of the mind based on careful observation, critical analysis, and philosophical debate. So there's that's one of the kind of controversies behind it. For some, psychodynamic theory is flawed because it is based on metaphorical ideas about mental structures and movements that are inferred from behavior and self-description. Overall, though, psychodynamic theory does provide a rich set of interpretive ideas to help practitioners explore what's happening in people's minds. There are some cultural issues to consider when looking at psychodynamic theory with a client. It takes place typically in white middle-class perspective as the norm, and deviations are abnormal. And so that's definitely something that is problematic when dealing with children who have significant variations across cultures and ethnicities. For example, or also homosexuality and the role of women in society as well. So definitely keep that in mind with psychodynamic theory when looking at it to apply with client bases. Psychodynamic theory can be applied in lots of different situations. It's primarily used in mental health settings. And advantages to understanding the large body. There are advantages to understanding the large body of psychodynamic writings. It's a rich source of ideas and metaphors for therapeutic and clinical settings. Cognitive behavioral theory. So this is a very large one that we use in the field of social work. Provide social work practitioners with a tool focused on developing rational management of an individual's behavior, and so better understanding of the source of their problems. CBT attempts to have the individuals manage and change their behavior so as to resolve social problems that affect them. It was derived by the integration of behaviorism and then supported by learning and social learning theory and cognitive theory. Again, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but in overall, CBT is behavioral practice that focuses on specific behaviors that worry clients and others around them. So if we change that behavior, then we remove the concern. There's very specific methods of assessment, interventions, and evaluations. And then there's monitoring that takes place kind of throughout the therapeutic process. So again, some of the controversial issues surrounding CBT. Arguments center on whether CBT's focus on defining and modifying specific problems in the client's behavior is successful only with a range of mental health problems. CBT may have a degree of effectiveness with those types of problems, but may come at the cost of focusing on and perhaps amplifying problems rather than looking positively at strengths and objectives as well as strengths proposed by solution-focused practice. CBT is well reviewed regarding a range of mental health disorders, primarily focusing on anxiety, phobias, depression, and PTSD. The main uses of CBT are in mental health settings, and in particular with depression and anxiety, or where a pattern of behavior due to life experiences requires behavioral change of a learned psychological disorder. There are very structured forms of CBT that has been used with clients who have like addictions and criminal justice issues. Um, so definitely some things to keep in mind with CBT. So humanistic is perspective is centered on the belief in the capacity of conscious human being to reason, make choices, and act freely, uninfluenced by higher beings such as gods and religion or superstition. The focus is primarily on enhancing individual personal development. The goal of these areas of practice is for the individual to understand their own personal identity in relation to the totality of who other persons really are and the individual's relationships. It focuses on the capacity of conscious human beings to make choices. All right, we talked about this one a little bit a few slides ago. Human caring in social relationships is seen as an essential aspect of humanity. Humanism sees problems as a natural part of the human condition. Humanists argue that people's emotional and physical security and resilience should be enhanced so that they can respond to the challenges of life. The origins of social work are associated with the shift of welfare provision from churches, mostly Christian churches, to become part of the secular role of the state. So practicing social work requires a belief that social problems may be understood. So that's a little bit where humanism originated from. Humanistic social work ideas provide a principled approach to understanding human beings as wholes. This approach is more flexible, less deterministic, and less judgmental than many other psychological ideas used in social work. Theories of humanistic social work emphasize that respect for whole persons and common good are an essential part of effective practice and the value base of social work. So the other part of your reading this week had to do with Latino women's spiritual beliefs related to health. So spirituality is an aspect of culture for many individuals. It's an important aspect of health for Latinas. There is a belief in the importance of balance among physical, mental, and spiritual health, this holistic approach. And there are a few relationships between spirituality and health. Active is the most common category. Faith is a coping strategy, spiritual coping, asking God for help, personal responsibility for health. And there's also passive. So God as a healer, God as responsible for health, and consistent with fatalism. So when working with particularly Latinas, it's important to respect and acknowledge cultural beliefs, particularly with health and spirituality, and recognizing the holistic aspect of incorporating spirituality in discussions of their health, and recognizing the importance of family relationships as well. So there are a number of different things to consider and think about whenever you are working with populations um, and different cultural aspects to spirituality as well. So be cognizant of some of those. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much.